Hello, this is Spidey1958 and welcome to my core classes, options and tips video. This one we're going to do the Druid, that purveyor of nature. So let's go ahead, and as usual we're going to do human. Okay, Druid. You have your basic Druid, where like clerics can swap out for healing spells, they can swap out for summoning spells, their nature call spells. And also, are there elementals? They may actually have elemental spells separately. They can also do nature bond, which normally people take an animal, but you can actually take one of the domains, either air, animal, earth, fire, water, plant, or weather. If you take animal, you would still get an animal companion, but you wouldn't get it till 4th level. You'd have to burn a feat if you wanted to be as powerful. So that is an option, though, if you wanted to have both the animal domain and that. Most of the time, I think people are just going to take the animal, but so the other thing is they have an alignment restriction, which means basically I think they have to be neutral as their restriction. I don't actually remember. Does it say up there? It doesn't actually say. It just says here they have to, if they change to a prohibited alignment, they lose their spells and that. So, and they get basically simple weapons: club, dagger, dart, quarterstaff, scimitar, scythe, sickle, short spear, sling, and spear. And they're also proficient with all natural attacks, so they claw, bite, and so forth of any form they assume they can use. They can use light or medium armor and prohibited from wearing metal armor. Thus, they can't wear anything metal, so they'd have to wear leather armor or hide armor, use wooden shields, that stuff. And they also can wear wooden iron that's been altered by ironwood so that it functions as though it were steel. And again, so at 1st level, the standard Druid gets a +2 bonus on lore. At 4th, they get their first shape, which is wolf, which they can turn into for 1 hour per Druid level once a day. And that doesn't actually provoke an attack of opportunity. They can also use this ability an additional time per day at 6th level and every 2 levels thereafter. At 6th level, they can use it to change into a leopard or a small elemental. At 8th, they can change into a bear or a medium elemental. At 10th, they can change into a Smilodon, or saber-toothed tiger is what you know it as. Shambling mound or large elemental. And at 12th level, they can change into a huge elemental. And the standard Druid at 9th level becomes immune to all poisons. And also at 4th level, they can resist the saving throws against spell-like and supernatural abilities of Fae and plants. So that's the standard. Your next choice is the Blight. I can't talk. Blight Druid. Now they lose their animal companion. In that they still have their spontaneous summoning. They gain the Blight Bond, which since they can't get an animal companion, they can select like death or destruction domains, and in addition to the ones normally available. So they can do all those elemental ones and also do death or destruction. They get the same shape change abilities, except that instead of being immune to poison, they're immune to disease. Well, not disease. Yeah, immune to disease, nausea, sickening. But at 5th level, if they're adjacent to a creature at the beginning of their turn, the creature must save at a fortitude save or become sick. Once they save, they're good for 24 hours. So they're nauseated for 1 round and sickened for 1 minute thereafter. If they're animal, fey, or plant, everyone else is just sickened for 1 round. And at 13th level, any creature that strikes the Blight Druid with a touch attack, unarmed strike, or natural weapon must succeed at a fortitude save or become nauseated for 1 round and contract a bubonic plague as the contagion spell. If the creature makes it save, it's immune for 24 hours. Next up is Defender of the True World. These are basically your anti-Fey druids. They basically slay Fey threats and that. So they get the standard nature bond, and they have the alignment restrictions and that. You'll notice they can't swap to summoning spells, so they don't get to swap their spells automatically to summoning. They get the same shapeshift, except at 9th level, they're immune to mind-affecting attacks of Fey. 1st level, they get Enemy of the Fey, which gives them a +2 bonus on weapons and damage against Fey. The Defender True World can channel stored spell energy into summoning spells that they haven't prepared ahead of time, but cannot use Summon Nature Ally to summon Fey creatures. So they can get some creatures, but they have rules, and they get different creatures at levels. Like at 8th, they can cast Summon Elder Earth Elemental or lose a prepared spell at 9th level to cast Summon, that's supposed to be Summon, I bet, Elder Worm, which is probably be really nasty. And basically at 4th level, they get a +4 on saving throws against spell-like and supernatural abilities of Fey. And all their natural attacks count as Cold Iron for overcoming damage reduction and gain a +2 bonus on caster levels to overcome spell resistance. They also, at 3rd level, the Animal Companion and any creature they summon gets a +1 bonus on attack and damage roll against Fey, and that increases at 8th, 13th, and 18th levels. So not only do they get better at it, but their companion gets better at and their summoned creatures are better at fighting Fey. Now, sort of the opposite of that is the Fey Speaker. They get the normal spontaneous summoning, animal nature bond, the alignment restriction, and that. They have pretty much the same thing, except their 9th level ability is they're immune to poison again. So they're more like the original. The extras they get is they get Fey Magic, which they use their charisma instead of their wisdom for their spells. So this is actually a charisma-based druid, not a wisdom-based druid. And then at 4th, 6th, 8th, 10th, 12th, 14th, 16th, and 18th, they add 1 enchantment or illusion spell from sorcerer or wizard spell to their druid list as a spell of 1 level higher. For example, at 4th, you could add color spray as a 2nd level spell. And once they select a spell, it cannot be changed. So they can basically learn a limited number of enchantment and illusion spells from magic. So let's go ahead and choose the normal druid. And go next. Bink. Now druids, it's because of their animal shape, you probably don't want them to really be wimpy things. So what I would probably suggest is give them a wisdom of 16 and then a strength of 14, a con of 14, and a dex of 14. And then go ahead and put your extra in wisdom. This is not an ideal depending on what you're doing, but this should be good. You can fight your wild shape. You'll be reasonably skilled in most fighting skills and that. So, and then you get 3 points going to probably always want to take nature lore. I mean, that's one of the things you are. Any class that has perception as a base, as a class skill, I really recommend taking perception. And then the other choices would be world knowledge or athletics. Either one of those. In this case, let's just go ahead and say that. Okay, so next. Oop. So they get, since this is a human, they get an extra feat. So you can go to combat. You can go basically a lot of the normal choices. So you can always do the standard toughness, combat casting. There's nothing wrong with that for a choice. And here you choose your domain or your animal companion. We're going to choose an animal companion so we can see those. Now I don't know what's up with this wolf and this continue. I assume they're beta stuff. But you have your bear, which is, a strength type, fighter type thing. You have your boar, which is basically better armor class. It's more tanky. You have your dog. You have your elk. You have your giant centipede. Which that would just be weird having this giant centipede follow you everywhere. But it, maybe that's what you're into. You have your leopard. Leopards have a real low armor class, but they have a high dexterity, so it makes up for a lot of it. Then you have your mastodon. And that, which, we'll choose mastodon just because it would be cool to have a mastodon following you around. Then you have monitor lizard. Smilodon, which of course is saber-toothed tiger, and wolf. And that would be, and we choose neutral. Oh, we'll go pious. We'll call him Doug. Doug the Druid. And that would be Doug the Druid. So, as always, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and give me a like or a comment. And if you disliked the episode, leaving me a dislike's fine. But please leave a comment saying why you disliked it. Also, if you have a preference of what you want me to do next, what core class to do next, go ahead and leave that in the comments. So as always, this is Spidey 1958, and have fun gaming.